Hello, I'm Doug Muzzio. This is City Talk. When the producers of the film Stay wanted to shoot scenes on the Brooklyn Bridge, the city diverted traffic for 10 days. The lesson? Shoot here, spend its $50 million budget, and you get the Brooklyn Bridge, giving new meaning to the old joke, do I have a bridge for you? The person selling the bridge is with us today. She's Katherine, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office of Film, Theater, and Broadcasting. She became commissioner in August 2002, coming from an outstanding career as general manager of Bloomberg Radio and Television, where she built digital broadcast operations in 25 cities worldwide. Commissioner Oliver visited us in January in 2003, and we welcome you back. It's been too long.
I know. It's a pleasure to be back. Wonderful to see you.
Thank you. On my way to work, 39th Street, film crew, wagons, cables, director's chairs, lunch,
Lots
breakfast.
of people,
lots of actors, lots of milling around. What's going on in New York City? Just lay out the scene today. What's going on?
Its business is booming. It's been wonderful. It was in January of this year that the mayor signed the Made in New York tax incentive program into law. And it's wonderful. It's the first time ever that New York has had a tax credit. And it's really made a big difference. We have about $450 million in new business that has come to the city. We've created about 6,000 jobs. And this is a direct result of this tax credit.
Now, this Made in New York, it's all over the place. I come into Port Authority. I know it's on little booklets, it's on cards. Is it for a refrigerator?
Bus shelters.
Oh,
well, we don't have magnets yet, but that's a very good idea.
We need magnets.
T-shirts.
Port Authority bus terminal.
And it kind of looks like an old New York City subway token.
Yes,
this was designed by Radical Media, which is a New York-based company that I had the pleasure of getting to know John Kamen when we worked on the 2012 bid. And one of the first things that I had to do as commissioner was help with the videos for the bid. And so John helped us. He designed this logo. The idea is that this is a good housekeeping seal. This is a mark of distinction, and all of the projects that qualify get to display this logo. Sex and the City was the first TV show to display it in the closing credits. And the idea is to take pride in being creative in New York, you know, supporting the film and television industry in New York. A show like Law and Order, and all of the Law and Orders display this logo, but the former, you know, the old NYPD Blue or CSI New York don't get to display this logo because they're made in California and they only come here for a few days. So it's creating a little bit of a buzz in the industry, but it's really a wonderful celebration of everything that is creative in New York. And we're using it as a wider campaign to celebrate all of the different marketing initiatives that we have. The tax credit, and in addition to the tax credit, which is a 15% refundable tax credit for qualifying
10% from the state and 5% from the city?
10 from the state, 5% from the city, and it's a refundable tax credit. You have to be eligible. You have to be a feature film or an episodic television series, and you have to use a soundstage in New York, and there are about 12 of them in the 5 boroughs, including Silver Cup and Kaufman Astoria in Queens, which have been around for a while, and of course the new facility, Steiner, which opened up last August at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. You have to use a soundstage at one of these facilities, and you have to spend 75% of your budget in New York. So you have the privilege of taking advantage of the tax credit, displaying the logo, and also taking advantage of our marketing credit. And what we've done, which did not require legislative approval, it was an innovation of our agency. We look at the New York City production spend, we take 1%, and we give the qualifying production free outdoor media.
Ooh.
The city
Which
controls
is worth a lot.
Bus shelters, phone kiosks, and what we do is we come up with a campaign. So if it's a budget of for a television show of about $20 million, 1% is $200 million. 200,000. We wish 200,000. And so we'll come up with a campaign over a 1 to 2 month period where the production comes up with the artwork, and then at the bottom portion of the bus shelter, you'll see the Made in New York logo, and then there's a thank you from the mayor to all New Yorkers for supporting film and television production. And we've run a series of bus shelters throughout the city, educating New Yorkers about the importance of film and television. You know, this is a $5 billion a year industry for the city, employing about 100,000 New Yorkers. So this is a very viable industry and an important one to the city. And so what we're doing with this bus shelter campaign, you'll see the Made in New York logo, and we've done things like the best boy in your building may be your next date. And then there's a definition of what's a best boy, and then we say it's one of the 100,000 New Yorkers employed in this industry. And again, a thank you for all of their support, because we realize that when the film crews come in, that, you know, it's going to cause a little bit of a disturbance sometimes, or a disruption to day to day. But we want people to recognize that this means jobs for New Yorkers. It means that we're keeping the jobs here, and we're supporting a very lucrative industry. And it's a great promotion for the city. And beyond that, there are thousands of ancillary businesses that benefit from film. You know, it's wonderful that you've got the actors and the writers and the directors and the crews working on the film, but it's the 4,000 ancillary businesses, because when that film comes into town, you know, they're eating at the local coffee shops, they're going to the local copier place, they're buying supplies for the offices there. So there's an array of businesses that really benefit from this thriving industry.
And then part of your program is a discount card, a Made in New York discount card.
Yeah, we introduced the Made in New York discount card, and this is part of our concierge service. Now,
concierge service, explain this.
Well, you know, customer service is really near and dear to our hearts. When you're working in a very, very competitive industry, it's important to recognize the needs of your customer and be very sensitive to that. Now, when I started 3 years ago, and I talked to you about this the last time I was on the show, they were working on electric typewriters in my office and processing permits by hand. Out of a staff of 20, we had 3 people processing those permits, and we issue over 150 permits a day. So the wait time for those permits was quite lengthy. Now we have 7 people processing those permits. We put our permit online, and we're trying to do everything that we can do to fast track the whole permitting process. And of course, our permits are free. We have free police assistance as well, and we have a lot of experts in our office that really help the location managers and the filmmakers to find the best possible locations. But everything that we do is really designed to facilitate and fast track that whole process. Okay. But the discount card and the concierge, when people are coming in, they're looking at New York and saying, you know, this is an expensive place to do business. So what we're doing is identifying the array of businesses that the entertainment industry would use. Hotels, car rental companies,
eateries,
prop houses, restaurants,
sure,
health clubs, everything you can think of. And we've created this discount card, and we've asked these vendors, it's free to join the program, we've asked them to come up with a discount of at least 10%. Then we put them on a list on our website, and when the productions come in for their permits, we give them these discount cards for their cast and crew, and they can go to the participating vendors and take advantage of the discount.
And that helps the vendors too. I mean, it bounces money around the economy.
You know, everyone wants to have a piece of the film and television industry. It's a very sexy industry, and this is a way that we can make another business-to-business connection. We can have that local florist starting to work with the studios, or we can have a local caterer start working with the networks. And that's something that really didn't happen as much before, and we see that that's a role that we can play. So we've come a long way from being just a permit office. What we're trying to do is to really strategically look at the business and figure out ways in which we can support it and lure in more business, and then of course to promote and celebrate it, and that's where the marketing credit comes in.
And in terms of your marketing, part of your promotional effort is this short film called Beyond the Skyline, and it's really a wonderful, it's edgy, it's, well, we're going to see it. Why don't you just briefly describe what we're about to say?
Beyond the Skyline, we wanted to do something at the Tribeca Film Festival, which of course is such a wonderful event that happens every year and has been growing in leaps and bounds. And our idea was to have a student create a film that would be a promotion for filmmaking in New York. So we went to NYU, and Justin Francis, a student there, produced this film that you're about to see. It's about 3 minutes in length, and it's got beauty shots of New York, and the message was, and we premiered it at the Tribeca Film Festival, and the message was, you know, consider New York. This is the best, we have the best locations in the world, the best crews, an incredible talent pool, and you'll see that there are some recognizable New York celebrities who are providing testimonials and endorsements for our great city.
The late Jerry Orbach,
Whoopi Goldberg, Harvey Keitel,
John Turturro,
and Kristen Davis.
Right.
You know, and that's been the wonderful thing, that there's such a rich, creative community here in this city, and everyone wants to help. And, you know, they really want to celebrate filmmaking in New York and do their part to bring the business back here.
Okay, let's take a look.
New York City is probably the greatest backdrop in the world.
If you happen to lack character, just come to New York. It'll supply all the character you need.
But there's really a tremendous diversity, and there's always new things to find.
And if you ever want to get people's tongues hanging out, you show them a great sweeping shot of the skyline. It gets you.
You can't duplicate New York City anyplace. You can try, and you can, you know, fumble and futz around here and there to try and fake it. But New York, it's so good you had to name it twice.
Come shoot in New York.
Come shoot New York.
Come on, what are you waiting for? Come shoot New York.
Come shoot in New York.
Talk about what we're filming now. Just name, I mean, I've got a list here of
really
a dozen
incredible.
films now, and recent productions, another dozen films, including the producers, but that's only...
It's incredible.
the-
You know, 3 years ago when I started, the first thing that I had to deal with was the Rudy Giuliani movie that was made in Montreal.
Excuse me. Okay, I understand.
And that kind of says it all. And that was a USA Carlton. I went out to Los Angeles, talked to the executives there. They never even budgeted New York. They didn't even give us a chance. They budgeted Los Angeles and Canada. That was it. And that was the general feeling out there.
It didn't dawn on them?
New York,
Even
the
to
feeling
try?
was, no, because the feeling was you don't have a tax incentive, it's too expensive, and it's complicated to shoot in New York City. And so that's early on what I had to focus on. So again, it was the customer service, it was the business-to-business outreach, it was delivering the Brooklyn Bridge, it was working with Sidney Pollack to deliver the United Nations, which is another thing that we worked on. That was was for the film The Interpreter.
And you can't reproduce that anywhere.
Well, they were going to do it in Canada. That was a film that was going to go to Canada. They were going to recreate the UN in Canada. And Sidney Pollack reached out to us. We had a meeting with the mayor. We appealed to Kofi Annan. And for the first time ever, the production was allowed to shoot at the United Nations. North by Northwest, for film historians, didn't really shoot there. They did exterior work, but they were not inside the United Nations.
Those weren't real interiors? Oh, Hitchcock fooled me.
And, but, you know, Sidney Pollack did it, and this was a film they shot in New York for about 4 months. 225 people were employed. You know, this really changed the feeling, and I think that the sense was we wanted to send a signal to the industry that we really meant business, and we were opening up the city. The city was film-friendly. You know, we pride ourselves in making the impossible possible. You know, I can't take credit, but it was many years ago, Vanilla Sky, that famous scene with Tom Cruise. Ooh. And John Batista, who was the commanding officer of the NYPD movie TV unit, gets the credit for making that happen. And we really shut down Times Square. And now John Batista is retired from PD, but he's my deputy commissioner, and I rely on him every day to help us. It's amazing, you know, and the NYPD has, you know, got a stellar reputation.
Film unit
and
is
when you hear from people around the world, filmmakers, they say never underestimate the value of these folks because they know how to make it happen. The police service is free, and in other parts of the world you pay for that service, but our basic service is free. You know, when you're going to shoot a larger production, then we have to bring in extra police, but it's incredible how we can facilitate this kind of production, and I think that that's really important. So I think reaching out and sending a signal to the industry that we wanted this business has really made a difference. Then, of course, the tax credit, you know, was signed into law, and now we have Marty Scorsese. They just finished last week shooting The Departed in New York, and here, this is a film that takes place in Boston. And New York is doubling for Boston in
so
that
we're now a body double for, I don't know if I'm ready for
you know,
this.
No,
no,
this
it's
happens
money.
quite a
it's
bit.
Money.
But this happens quite a bit. And the reality is, and he did go up to Boston for some shots. And I mean, a filmmaker wants to be true to the city that the film is set in.
Sure.
But the economics of it, the tax credit, just made it too good of a deal to pass up. So Marty is thrilled that he's shooting in his hometown. And there are countless examples of that. I mean, last year, even before we had the tax credit, we had Kinsey shooting on Staten Island. You know, Liam Neeson did not want to go to Iowa or Indiana to shoot that film last summer, so they shot it on Staten Island. Staten Island is like our amazing backlot right now. We had Freedom Land with Samuel L. Jackson and Julianne Moore, which was shooting in Staten Island this summer. We've had several other films that are over there, and right now we have Hoax with Richard Gere and Alfred Molina, which has been shooting in Lower Manhattan. We have, of course, The Good Shepherd. Matt Damon just finished on The Departed with Martin Scorsese, and now he's with Robert De Niro.
He doesn't have to travel.
And he's also doing he had a small role in the film Margaret, which is shooting right now in New York City. We have the Julie Taymor. It's an untitled Beatles film, which is shooting in New York right now, which is going to be spectacular. And then we have The Devil Wears Prada with Meryl Streep and you know, and Anne Hathaway, which is wonderful. And we have a Uma Thurman film coming in quite soon. So business, we've got about 14 or 15 feature films shooting right now and about 7 or 8 TV shows.
Not only, though, is it Hollywood on the Hudson, it's Bollywood on the Hudson. You've got international, you've got Indian movies being made in the city right now.
And the Indian film market is huge. I mean, we think that Hollywood is big, but when you look at Bollywood and the reach that this industry has, it's really quite extraordinary. And there were several filmmakers were here last year, had wonderful success with the film, and I'm not going to do justice to quoting the name, but it's an incredible film. And it was probably one of the top grossing films in India last year, and they're coming back this year. You know, New York is a melting pot. We have such a diverse community. The Asian community in New York is very rich and growing. Queens has got a very rich Indian community.
Queens, the most diverse, excuse me, my borough, the most diverse county in the United States.
It's really extraordinary, and it's amazing when these Bollywood celebrities come into town because it really creates a buzz. You know, there's so many New York City cab drivers and residents of Queens and the different boroughs. They are so thrilled that these stars are on their doorstep. And so so it creates quite a buzz in the city. But, you know, that's the point, is that we are luring even more production, not just keeping production in New York, keeping them from going to Canada, but we're luring in international filmmakers. And, you know, New York, it really isn't a hard sell. You know, filmmaking began here over 100 years ago.
Edison.
Absolutely. And it moved to Los Angeles in the 40s and 50s, and then it came back, and the turning point was probably 1953 with On the Waterfront. And then shortly thereafter there was Marty, and then there was 12 Angry Men, Sidney Lumet. And these were films that back-to-back won Academy Awards, and suddenly the focus was on New York again. But it's been challenged through the years, and I think the heyday was in the late 90s, and as you know, the economy was booming, but then the incentives became very attractive, you know, in Canada,
Elsewhere.
you know, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and it was hard to compete with that. And then, of course, we had some strikes, and we had 9/11, and every industry was really challenged. But this tax credit is really making a difference, and, you know, it really is about the creation of jobs, the retention of jobs, but the creation of new jobs here. And more than that, it's marketing New York. I mean, this is a wonderful way to promote our city, because most people around the world know New York because of a movie or a television show.
I think I told you the last time, when friends come from Europe, they want to go to the public library to see the Lions. They want to go to the Plaza. They want to go all movie shots. I mean, that's how the culture gets permeated out there.
And television. You know, The Apprentice.
Let's turn to television.
You know, The Apprentice, Law and Order. These are shows that have international distribution. I was in Hong Kong in January or February of this year, and, you know, shows like Law and Order and The Apprentice are so popular over there. People see these shows. They want to visit our city. You know, look at what Sex and the City has done, and now it lives on in syndication over and over again, as does Law and Order, which is still in production with 3 shows.
Excuse me, but you can watch Law and Order for 24 hours a day, I think.
But, you know, they've got the original Law and Order is going into season 16, which is incredible.
Wait, and the mayor, excuse me, got himself on the opening scene in season 15's
That's
opening?
correct.
He's
That's
been on
correct.
a couple of times.
Well, you know, when we thought that before he does any show at all, and we've gotten lots of requests for cameo appearances, we thought Law and Order should be the show that he's on. So he's been on Law and Order twice. He's been on The Apprentice once, and he was on All My Children, which 35 years, All My Children. You know, the soap operas, we have 4 soap operas in New York, and All My Children celebrating its 35th anniversary this year. Guiding Light and As the World Turns and One Life to Live is the other one. Susan Lucci celebrating her 35th anniversary.
I missed that barbecue. I wanted to interview you before now so I could have gone to that barbecue.
Our big event at Gracie Mansion, well, that's an opportunity to really invite everyone in the industry to really say thank you and to really celebrate, and also to create a sense of community, to get everybody together. But there are probably about 100 different television shows that are shooting in New York. When you think about it, you've got all of the news shows based here. You know, so the world wakes up in the morning to, you know, the news programs here. All of them have, you know, street level studios, and you see New York. And you've got a lot of talk shows here. We've got, you know, Live with Regis and Kelly and Montel, and you know, so many. The View. We have David Letterman at night. We have Conan. The magazine programs, the soap operas, and then the episodic television shows.
And then you've got the Emmy Awards. I mean, you guys, I mean, the city has garnered, you know, huge percentages of primetime Emmy Awards. What was it, 60% of the primetime Emmys were made here?
It's incredible. I mean, there's just, and it just goes to show you, it's sort of like the, you know, the greatest illustration that if you make an investment in New York, it's really going to pay off. You're going to get awards. I mean, look at the success of Sex and the City, The Sopranos, Law and Order, you know, Angels in America. That was a you know, it was HBO miniseries. They shot 165 days in New York. It was about a year or so ago, and garnered, you know, so many Emmy Awards. I mean, amazing
and huge
production.
critical reviews.
And, you know, and you look at, you know, the box office results. You know, the most successful movies over time, you know, have something in common, that they were made in New York. It's a wonderful backdrop, and now it's even much more. You know, this is a place where people can not only come for their key locations, but with this tax made in New York tax credit and our marketing credit, this is a place where they can do their production in their entirety. So what we're saying to production is we're helping you from script to screen. You know, we want to lure you in. We want to help you figure out all of the logistics. We want to hold your hand and work with the location managers to find the best locations. And we go to bat many times to help them secure locations.
Okay, we only have 2 minutes. The time flies when we're having fun. New York Television Festival, excuse me.
The
beginning
first one.
September 28th through October 3rd. We air on September 28th. Tell us about it.
This is a wonderful initiative, and it's the first time ever that we're hosting the New York Television Festival in New York, and it was the brainchild of Terrence Gray and the folks over at William Morris and other Made in New York institution. So we're thrilled to be a part of it. Very exciting. It's geared towards the industry, but also has a consumer aspect, and it's a celebration of television in New York.
What's going on?
Well, there are different programs that are going on. The idea is to really give new television producers a platform for their projects, to meet with executives, to try to sell independent television and film productions for the medium. So it's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate television, but also to give another networking opportunity to have some young independent producers networking with executives to really push forward their programs.
Last minute, what's coming up?
Well, we're really going to build on this tax credit. We've got a lot of movies coming into New York. We've got television shows. We had 7 pilots shoot in New York last season, which was historic.
Right.
And actually 3 shows were picked up as mid-season replacements. So at first we said there was nothing picked up, but in the last couple of months we have 3 new shows. So 3 out of 7 is not bad.
No.
And we're hearing every day about new television projects that are coming to New York, reality TV shows, other type of musical events. So it's a very important business. It's a viable business. We're very dedicated to facilitating all of the production needs and really instilling in the minds of everyone that New York is the entertainment capital of the world.
And that's it. You are a fabulous saleswoman. And you have to come back no more 2.5 year wait.
Not at all. And any information, if people want to reach me, call 311. It's as simple as that. Call 311 and ask to speak to me, and they will connect you, or visit our website, nyc.gov, and you can get a lot of information about our programs, our initiatives, and we welcome your ideas. Doug, before we go, just one last thing. It seems very fitting that I present you with your own Made in New York t-shirt. I mean, you are made in New York.
Yes, I'm definitely made in New York. My children are made in New York. My wife's made in New York.
So this is a celebration. Wear it with pride.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure as well. My shirt.